Well, good morning. Here we are looking at Proverbs 23 again. We're looking at the 30 sayings, and we're on saying number 14 this morning. And we're looking at verses 17 and 18 in Proverbs 23. I know those are a lot of numbers. So it's Proverbs 23, verses 17 and 18. And this is actually saying number 14. It's the teaching number 14 out of the 30 that we have been looking at. And today, he's going to talk about priorities and vision. Priorities and vision. First of all, we're going to see there's a negative and there also is a positive. He says, "Let not your heart envy sinners, but continue in the fear of the Lord all the day. Surely there is a future, and your hope will not be cut off." Here, what we see in this great passage is the negative aspect of not envying sinners, but rather to continue to fear the Lord all the day, to be persistent in doing that. It is an easy thing to envy other people. And sin, let's just be honest, sin is fun for a season. That's why Moses, it says that he resisted the pleasures of sin for a season. Sin is fun for a little while, but there is a price to pay. And so he says that it's easy to envy that because you see them having fun. You see them going out and doing things that your flesh wants to do. But he says you need to resist that. You need to don't envy what other people are doing, because it starts in your mind and your heart, and then it goes forward and you will want to do that. He says, look to the future. Have the priority of fearing the Lord and have a vision for what the future is going to be. This is greatly alluding to Psalm 37, verses 9 through 11. Let me just read those for you, where he says, "For the evildoer shall be cut off, but those who wait for the Lord shall inherit the land. In just a little while the wicked will be no more. Though you look carefully at his place, he will not be there, but the meek shall inherit the land and delight themselves in abundant peace." So here he's saying, listen, you got to remember, this is one of those things that David was fighting. In verse 1, he says, "Fret not yourself because of evildoers. Be not envious of wrongdoers, for they will fade soon like the grass and wither like the green herb." He says, listen, don't envy them. It is only for a very brief moment. And all you have to do is go online, watch TV, social media, and you'll see a lot of people doing a lot of things and saying all kinds of things that are totally against the fear of the Lord. It is totally anti-God, walking away from his ways, mocking his ways, thinking that his ways are backwards and old and ridiculous. And he says, don't envy the people. It looks like they're winning, but they're really not. You know, there's a saying that people like to say, and sometimes it's true, but many times they'll say, do you want to be on the right side of history? Well, in a biblical fashion, the right side of history is always being on the side of God. Not being envious of the political movements and waves that seem to be coming, but it's always being on the side of God. And so notice that he says, not to let your heart envy sinners, but continue in the fear of the Lord all the day long. And he says, here's the reason why. The reason is verse 18, "Surely there is a future, and your hope will not be cut off." The idea here is that your hope will not be cut off. Their hope, the sinners, those, and remember, the sinner is not just a generic term, but it's those who are anti-God. The sinners, their hope will be cut off. You know, this is a very similar thing in a sense of what Jesus did. that Jesus saw that which was difficult and hard, and we are called to look to him as an example. We are to, in Hebrews 12:2, look to Jesus, who is the author and finisher of our faith, who, for the joy that was set before him, endured the cross, despising the shame, and is now seated at the right hand of the throne of God. You see, he could have envied the sinners. He could have gone after and say, but he didn't do that. He pleased the Father. He saw the vision of what God had promised and set before him and made that his joy. Make your future hope your joy today. Be like Jesus in following the example that he has given to us. Don't envy the sinners, but rather continue in the fear of the Lord. I like that word continue. It means you're already doing it and you need to push through. You need to keep going. Those are difficult things to do, but we are called to do it. I hope that you will continue living in the fear of the Lord, to live in a way that is pleasing to him today, tomorrow, next week, next year, and forever. May the Lord richly bless you today.